Hey everybody, this is Gregory from Dapp University. So in this video, I want to show you some advanced tips for building blockchain applications that I use on my real world projects. All right, I was actually just working on a project today and going through some stuff that I was thinking, hey, I think these guys would really like seeing how to do some of this stuff. So I created a simpler version of what I've actually been working on that I want to share with you today. All right, so before we get into that, if you're new around here, I'm Gregory from Dapp University. On this channel, I teach you how to become a blockchain developer. So if that's something that you're interested in, click the like button down below and click subscribe. That really helps these videos get found so that more people can become blockchain developers. All right, so what I want to show you today is how you can build your own backends that talk to the blockchain. All right, I'm going to show you how to build a microservice API in JavaScript so that you can build some sophisticated real-world blockchain apps. So let's go ahead and get started. And really quickly, if you want to become an in-demand blockchain developer, then you need to join my new program, Blockchain Mastery University, which opens on January 29th, 2020. Click the link down below to sign up for the special launch event. All right, so let's look at what we're going to build. So essentially, we're going to build an API that will interact with the blockchain. And there's nothing really to see visually in this code example. There's no website, there's no user interface. So I'm going to sketch out sort of a diagram of what we're going to build on my whiteboard here. Right, so sometimes whenever you're building out smart contracts that are going to be using the blockchain, or you're using the blockchain in any way, you might have some sort of interface that talks to the blockchain directly. But what we're going to do is create an API that talks to the blockchain instead, right? So normally you would have a web browser, and that would talk to the blockchain, and maybe there's a smart contract inside there. Right, so let's see here. Do some arrows. You would do web browser to blockchain, and then blockchain to smart contract. These are really one and the same, the smart contracts on the blockchain, but you get the idea just for illustration purposes, right? So instead of that, what we're going to do is create an API. All right, so this API is going to talk directly to the blockchain, which will interact with the smart contracts. And so you might call this API from a web browser, right? Or maybe some other backend microservice inside some big complex infrastructure, but that's essentially what we're going to do is create an API that talks directly to the blockchain. And there's lots of different reasons why you want to do this. You might want to store some data off chain in your application, like this would be a separate part of your backend, or maybe you have just a web service that needs to get data from the blockchain that doesn't have a web browser, user interface or something like that. So that's what I want to show you in this tutorial. So in order to get started, you need to connect to the blockchain. I'm going to use Infura for that. This will give you access to an Ethereum node so that you can talk to the mainnet. We're going to use the real Ethereum blockchain in this tutorial, right? Not a test network, not a development blockchain. We're going to use the real thing. So head on over to infura.io, sign up, and obtain a URL like this, okay? And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to paste a link down in the description below for the starter code on this. It'll probably be the entire project so that you can have the reference, but I'll show you how this works, okay? So I'm going to open my editor, and this is some basic code for the API, all right? So we're using Express.js to build this backend, all right? So Express is a JavaScript framework for building backends, APIs, any server-side JavaScript. Right? You can do that with Express. It works with Node.js, which allows you to take JavaScript and run it in kind of any environment that you want. It frees it up from just running in your web browser. It means that you can run JavaScript anywhere. And Express allows you to create a server-side application, or an API in this case, to execute JavaScript. So we're going to do this. Basically, once you have your project set up, you want to install the packages. So head on over to your terminal and type npm install. That'll get all the dependencies installed. I've got these specified here in the package.json file. We've got Express included and some basic libraries that we're going to use. Also the Web3 library that we're going to use to talk to the blockchain momentarily. All right, so those are done. Now let's see what we have in our project here. All right. So I'm going to go to this server.js file. This is the main file that we'll edit to write all the code for this tutorial. It's going to be really basic. Express is a really lightweight framework, which I like for this kind of tutorial example. I'm actually using Express on a professional project right now. It's one of the reasons I'm inspired to make this video, to kind of help you all see the types of tools and technologies that I actually use as a real-world blockchain developer, okay? So essentially, what you do is you define routes inside of Express, and those routes are endpoints for the API. And you can basically just configure a type of response like this, response.json, right? And we'll just tell you what to come back from the API. So this is a simple HTTP GET request that just checks for the heartbeat to make sure that the API is working properly. And it will return some JSON that just says status OK, all right? So what we can do is, start our API. So I'm going to my terminal and say npm run start. Okay, and that will say the server is listening on port 4000, all right, because we specified the port here, all right, port. Okay, so now I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to interact with this blockchain API with curl. So curl is just a command line tool that allows you to make HTTP requests from the terminal. It just stands for CURL, so like curl. I can say localhost. Colon 4000. So this is just localhost and then port 4000. So I'll hit enter. All right, so I didn't add a route, so that's not going to work. So I'll show you like this. So localhost 4000 / and we can just look at our file here and say heartbeat, right? Because this is an endpoint that I've defined. Heartbeat. All right, and it says status OK. Perfect. That's what we want. We can see that that's what we specified inside the file here. So I can make this look a little neater so that it doesn't clump up here, and I can use a pipe, which will take the output of this this command and pipe it into another command. So I'm going to pipe it into Python in this case. So you also need to have Python installed on your computer if you're going to get this to work. If you don't worry, this is just fine. I'm going to show you a way to make it look nicer though. So Python dash, let's see, tool, JSON. Actually thought this, JSON.tool. All right, there you go. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't remember the argument here. But yeah, if you do pipe and then Python-m JSON.tool, it will give you a lot of bonuses. So you'll see the formatting here. This looks like a nicely formatted JSON object, and you'll also see some statistics about the request. You can see the amount of time it took. You can see the status for any long-running requests and things like that. All right. So I'm going to use this throughout the rest of this tutorial just to help us see what's going on. So this is how we're going to interact with the API. We're going to do it directly from the command line. You could use another tool like Postman, for example, which is a user interface for making HTTP requests. But this is just a lot faster. There's less stuff to install. It comes right out of the box with your developer toolkit. All right, so let's go ahead and talk to the blockchain. I've already imported the Web3 library here. So that will speed things up quite a bit, but I'm going to configure it. So the first thing I want to do is talk to the blockchain, and we're simply just going to, get a smoke test, just like get the current status. We'll read the block number. All right. So the first thing we want to do is say configure blockchain, and I want to say const RPC URL. I'm going to bump the font up here so you guys can see this better. All right. So the RPC URL is just going to be that Infura URL that I told you to register for a minute ago. All right, so head on over to this, just copy it to your clipboard, and paste it in. All right, but a really important thing to note here, you want to add the HTTP prefix, the protocol, so HTTPS://. And because if you don't do that, it's not going to work. All right, so there's your RPC URL. Now we want to, and also I would advise you to use this, like don't use this, actually create your own. By the time everyone's watched this video, this key will probably be dead. Okay, so anyways, let's go ahead and initialize the Web3 connection like this. We just say const web3 equals new web3, and pass in the RPC URL we just defined here. All right, so the next thing we want to do is just check the status on the blockchain, okay? So I'm going to create a new endpoint called getBlockNumber. So I'm just going to copy the code that was here in Heartbeat, right, and modify it. So the API endpoint will be let's see here. Let's call it block number. All right. And so inside of here, what I want to do is just read the current block number from the blockchain. All right. So I'll say Web3. Let's see, ETH get block number. All right. This is the command that comes with Web3 that will tell us the recent block number. And I'm going to assign it to a variable. So this is an asynchronous function call. So in order to do that, we need to use the await keyword, all right, to assign the output. And we'll say const block number. And also, in order to use this await keyword, we must use the async keyword on the function as well. All right, so this is the async wait pattern in JavaScript. I've covered this in several of my other tutorials. If you want a more in-depth explanation of this, you can also just kind of Google around for async await on JavaScript if you want a better understanding. All right, so let's just say response status OK, and then we will say block number is equal to the block number. All right, and I will use a comma here. So let's see if this worked. We'll go back to our terminal here, and I'll go to the last command, and instead of heartbeat, I'm going to say block number. All right. Okay, so we got an issue here. All right, so I see what the issue is. I misspelled this. I just forgot to use capital URL here. So RPC URL equals RPC URL. Okay. All right, so I'll save that, go back here. Looks like it's working. Let's try to make the request again. All right. Boom, there we go. So that was the block number, and it looks like it actually didn't return it. So what's going on there? Okay, sorry guys. I realized I was modifying the wrong code here. So my mistake. Let's change this. I'm just going to copy this code. I was putting in the wrong endpoint. Well, I guess I can just change this to block number. And we'll change this back to heartbeat. Heartbeat, and then we'll swap them. All right, so let's do this. And clean that mess up. Sorry about that again. So let's go back to the terminal, and let's run the command. Boom, there we go. So we can see that we searched for the block number, and we have this right here. All right, so I can go to a website like Etherscan and verify this. Go to etherscan.io, right? And we can see that the latest block number is 9051430. So let's see here, 9051430. Awesome. Our API is successfully talking to the Ethereum blockchain. So congratulations, that's a really good first step. All right, so now what I want to do is actually interact with a smart contract that's deployed to the blockchain. So I'm going to look for the an Ethereum token, all right? So I'm going to look for a real-world Ethereum token. I'm going to look for the OMG token. So I've actually got the address right here. And you can look for this on Etherscan. It'll also be in the code that I'll link to down in the description below. But here it is, right? This is a real-world cryptocurrency. It's an ERC20 token that runs on the Ethereum network called OMG, all right? And so I'm going to, fetch some information about this. I'm going to read the total supply. We can read somebody's balance, things like that. So we're going to talk to a real-world smart contract from our API. All right. So there's a few things we need to do to set this up. We need to get the ABI for the OMG token. You can go to the contract here and find that information. Right. We can just scroll down, and here's the ABI right here. You can just export it or copy it, right? Just copy it like this, okay? And then you want to take that ABI and go to your project, all right? Let's see here. And then paste it in, right? Boom. So say, here's the ABI, and here is the array. So if you copied a string, you need to turn it into a real array in JavaScript like this, okay? So the ABI is just a description of how the smart contract works, right? It's just like a JavaScript description in JSON. So with the ABI, which tells us, what kind of functions it has, and also the actual address of the smart contract on the network, we can create a JavaScript version of the smart contract and talk to it inside of our API, okay? So copy the address as well, and go back to your text editor, and we'll paste it in there. So let's see, boom. address. All right, so these are the two pieces of information of the OMG token, a real-world smart contract deployed to the Ethereum blockchain. And now we can create a JavaScript version of this smart contract that we can call functions on like this. Boom. So const contract equals new Web3 ETH contract ABI, right here, and then pass in the address as well. Okay. So that's all we need to do in order to talk to this smart contract. Now let's create a new endpoint that will read information from it. Okay, I'm just going to copy this block number endpoint that we just created. So I'm going to change this name. I'll call it token details. All right, and so I'll clear out block number. We'll clear out this. All right, we're going to modify this. First, let's just get the name of the token. All right, so we'll say name. We'll fill in name. We just haven't defined this yet. We're going to do that here. All right, so we'll say a const name, and I can say await contract. Oops, sorry, contract methods. Right, we defined contract up here. Here's contract. So contract methods. Let's see, name. All right, so this is how you do it with Web3. You could contract methods name, but that doesn't actually return the name just yet. We have to call it. All right, there's two different types of functions on Web3. There's call functions and then there's send functions. So call just reads information. That's what we're going to do here. So here's the name, and let's go ahead and try to read that on our server. Okay. So go back here, and instead of block number, I'll say token details. And boom, there we go. Name, OMG token. Perfect. Okay, so now let's read some more information. Instead of the name, we're going to do the symbol. Just change that. All right, and then I'll put symbol here, symbol. And also, just so you know, in ES6, we can do a shortcut. That basically just means a key and a value of the same name. I'm just making it explicit here so that you all can see what's happening in case you didn't understand that. All right, so let's try this again. Boom, there we go. Here's the symbol. All right. So next, let's read the total supply. This will be the actual number of tokens in existence. All right. So we can do that here. I'll say const total supply equals await contract methods total supply call. All right. Let's see here. Total supply. Oops. All right. Try to curl that. There we go. Awesome. So finally, let's check for someone's balance. So we're going to see how many tokens somebody has. All right. So I've got an address here that I'm going to look at. Let's see here. So here's an address of a really rich OMG holder. All right. This person's got a lot of, they got a lot, I'll put it that way. So let's read their balance like this. We'll say const balance of equals await contract dot methods balance of, and then say call. When we want to pass in the actual address. So I'm going to paste this in. You should have this in your code if you want to reference in the link down below. And we'll say balance of. All right, save that. Go back to the terminal. And all right, it's hanging up, so I might have made a mistake here. Let's go take a look. Contract methods balance of call. All right. Okay, so I see what I did, guys. Sorry, I had another typo. So balance of. All right, so let's fix that. Go curl. And there we go. Boom. We can see the balance of was also returned. So there you go. We have successfully fetched all the details about this OMG token. We can see how many exist, the name, the symbol, and actually, fetch the balance for somebody who holds a lot of these tokens. All right. So that's it, guys. I hope you all liked this. This is an introduction about how you can build your own API to talk to the blockchain, so that you can build blockchain backends real world applications that, might consume blockchain data or do some actions on the blockchain for more sophisticated apps that need to use smart contracts and also a web server and also a client-side website or something like that. All right. So again, I hope you all like this video. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click the like button down below. And if you want to find out more about how you can become a real-world blockchain developer, you need to join my Blockchain Developer Bootcamp. You can join the free training down below over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.